All right, so we are going to move on to our second talk and introduce our speaker, Michael Harle. They recently returned to his hometown of Corrales after 8 years in Texas. What part of Texas? Or are you going to? San Antonio, fantastic. Starting out as a volunteer library aide at age 12, he now works for the UNM Libraries, where he also earned his film undergrad through the university's Fine Arts Department in 2011. While employed as a youth services librarian in both Austin and San Antonio, I should have read the script, Michael completed his master's in library science from Texas Women's University in 2023. He is professionally trained in voiceover and has over 10 years of podcasting experience. In his spare time, Michael is an avid gamer, Broadway-lover, collector of physical media and Lego, just all around my type of guy, singer of songs loudly in the car, and an advocate and co-guardian for his autistic brother. Michael, the floor is yours.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for that very nice introduction. As you get the slides up here, I'll wait. How are y'all doing tonight, by the way? Shout out to my friends and coworkers from UNM who are here in the middle part of the... Thank y'all so much for coming.
I have an unsupported thing with PowerPoint, so I have to play an ad first, and I'm not going to subject you to the Microsoft 365 ad that no one wants to buy. Yeah.
You can start on the blank slide, that's fine too. Perfect. All right, let's go for it. So first of all, thank you for that introduction, Rob. That will really help me fill out my dating profile for the eligible suitors here in the audience. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Harle, and to further fill out my bio, I am a gay, cisgender, pronouns he, him, Asian American, East Indian, adopted, PS5 Pro playing, one of 10 millennials who will future own a home, millennial. Sorry. And I can cook. So, how is he single? Well, thanks for asking. I'm going to tell you. Okay, so actually, I actually went through a breakup pretty recently. Thank you for your support. It was pretty hard. We've been together for a while, but you know, sometimes you gotta realize that there were maybe always problems with the relationship, and you know, remember the good times and try to move forward with things. And just to be clear, I'm talking about Harry Potter, by the way. For the person who said boo when I said that I broke up with somebody, thank you for thinking it was a real man. That I've only broken up with 2 guys, and we dated for less than 2 months. And so, honestly, the Harry Potter thing was way more devastating. Yeah. Tonight, I'm going to be talking to y'all about my breakup with the J.K. Rowling and Warner Brothers series, The Wizarding World, or as you may better know it, Harry Potter, or Harry Potter, if you're as exhausting as me. And just in case you were wondering, wow, 2 months, 2 guys, I think the cosplay photos you're about to see will explain that. So, okay, let's get on to it. So yeah, as you probably figured out, I was your quintessential cringe millennial Harry Potter fanboy. I was 10 when I read the first book in 99, and 18 when I read the final book released in 07. I held some of the best Harry Potter parties. You were all not invited to, except maybe 3 people in the middle of here. I podcasted. Over 3 podcasts over the course of 10 years with MuggleNet.com, where I was maybe the only queer person of color in a sea of white people. There I am. He doesn't count. That's Luke Youngblood, who played Lee Jordan in the movies. He didn't work for MuggleNet. And I've spoken at all kinds of fan conventions and events where I was not the only queer person, but I was definitely still surrounded by white people, as you can see in the middle picture. I have been to the Wizarding World Park more times than I am willing to admit. I always wore full layered costumes while waiting for broken down rides in 100-degree heat and never dropped my fake British accent. And by the time I was in my late 20s, late, not even early or mid, I had finally constructed the Harry Potter room of my dreams, complete with a full bedding set from Pottery Barn's teen collection. So there is a lot of cringe that I just gave you there, but on the flip side, there was a lot of sincerity and beauty in being a part of the Harry Potter experience. For my Potter parties, my mom and I lovingly crafted Quidditch hoops, a floating Dementor, 100 wizard cards, and more, while my dad went all around Albuquerque thrifting every owl you could find, just so that my friends could immerse ourselves in that world for a few hours. While podcasting, I connected with listeners around the world, made lifelong friendships, and heard amazing stories about how Potter shaped people's lives. I was inspired to explore a career in voiceover after reading the books aloud to my brother. When I lived in Texas, I FaceTimed him every Friday, maintaining our bond through our weekly reread of the series. Harry Potter flowed through my bloodstream. People got me Potter gifts, quizzed me on Potter trivia, asked me how to start their own Potter journey. Daniel Radcliffe and I are the same age, so I think that makes it fair to say that when his jawline showed up in Prisoner of Azkaban, I had a gay epiphany. But I can tell you that the last piece of news I ever expected, especially in the year of our Lord COVID 2020, was that J.K. Rowling had something to share that was decidedly not about Harry Potter. So, for this next bit, depending on how you look at it, you are all either my willing audience or my captives. But either way, you now get to witness one of the most intimate things I used to do with my ex, Harry Potter, reading him out loud. So, I can't make you guys do anything that you don't want to, but if you want to get the most out of this experience, I highly recommend that you close your eyes. Do not worry, I will not leave you with your eyes closed so that we will all point and laugh at you. I promise. I'll tell you when to open them. But if you want to, go ahead and close your eyes. I'm easing you into the British accent. No, I do not know what region is from. Don't ask. And if you are actually British, you can just shut your bloody mouth right now. Thank you. Okay, setting the scene in Chapter 11 of Book 5, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. Hogwarts' new defense against the dark arts teacher, Professor Umbridge, a plant from the Ministry of Magic, stands up at the welcome feast and gives an unexpected speech. Harry's attention drifts as Umbridge rambles. The teachers were still listening very attentively, and Hermione seemed to be drinking in every word Umbridge spoke, though judging by her expression, they were not at all to her taste. That explained a lot. Did it? Said Harry in surprise. Sounded like a load of waffle to me. There was some important stuff hidden in the waffle, said Hermione grimly. Was there? Said Ron blankly. How about progress for progress's sake must be discouraged? How about pruning practices wherever we find practices that ought to be prohibited? Okay, if you closed your eyes, you can open them now, beautiful people. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's so sweet. By the way, because I called you beautiful people and you opened your eyes, you're all beautiful people. Congratulations. So in 2020, June of 2020, an essay was posted to Rowling's website entitled, J.K. Rowling writes about her reasons on speaking out on sex and gender issues. Boo. We'll get to that. Throughout her personal opinions and experiences, Rowling drops multiple references to studies and statistics. But on a quick visual scan here, can anyone tell me what's missing in this essay that does reference statistics and information? Citations! That is correct. There are no citations. You can see scrolling all the way down, there are no links or citations in this essay. Now, from a scholarly perspective, if you or I submitted this essay for a college class, we might face an academic suspension for plagiarism. But this essay won the BBC's Russell Prize for Best Writing, so fuck me, I guess. And while I understand that Rowling wrote this in the style of a personal essay, and she is a professional, but the thing to remember, she is a professional writer and former teacher, and her personal website isn't a lost LiveJournal blog from 2003. She directs her audience through her Twitter, which has over 14 million followers. Shortly after the essay's release, Twitter user Andrew James Carter created a thread of over 120 tweets that not only uncovered the sources Rowling pulled from, but debunked nearly all of them. In an article from Forbes that summarized the efforts of Carter and others to research the essay's claims, Carter stated, "When I saw the litany of falsehoods, the same hateful arguments I'd seen transphobes regurgitate over and over for years, when I saw them dressed up in polite language, posing as reasonable arguments instead of the ignorant prejudice they were, when I thought about other cis people reading them and mistaking them for reasoned truth, my instinct was to find and share a thread from a trans person refuting it all, except no trans person should ever have to take the time or expose themselves to that abuse simply to justify their existence and refute lies about their experiences and identities." Absolutely. Carter's mention of Rowling's essay using dressed-up polite language foreshadowed a common argument you may have come across from Rowling's supporters. She never said she hates transgender people. Where does she say it? Show me. And that's usually the end of it, because I can't necessarily show you that. But recalling the passage about umbrage brings to light that this essay has layers that are invisible, and in some cases, intentionally excluded. Also, this essay should neither be read independently of Rowling's Twitter posts and retweets, nor uncoupled from problematic elements of Potter that occurred long before this essay ever published. By the way, these tweets are all about transgender people, and they are all from last week. So, lesson 1 in breaking up with Harry Potter, read between the lines. Another quote, this time from the first book, Sorcerer's Stone. If you're American, Philosopher's Stone. If you are an exhausting bore. This one centers on one of the most interesting objects featured in the series, the Mirror of Erised, which, spoiler, is desire, spelled backwards. You're welcome if you didn't know. If you did know, congratulations, you are smarter than an 11-year-old. Harry spends multiple nights staring at and obsessing over the mirror, which shows him a reflection of his family who have long passed away. When Dumbledore educates Harry on the mirror, he tacks on a warning of its enchantment. This mirror will give us neither knowledge or truth. Men have wasted away before it, entranced by what they have seen, or been driven mad, not knowing if what it shows is real or even possible. It does not do to dwell on dreams and forget to live. Remember that. If you didn't witness Harry Potter's initial release, it's hard to find a comparable franchise, especially book-based, that has since been treated like a worldwide phenomenon. Potter fans have been chasing that high ever since. And when Rowling established her presence on the internet, so began one of the best examples of a monkey's paw situation that I have ever witnessed. So having casually revealed that she had boxes full of notes from Potter's development, she began dropping random world-building tidbits that started out as harmless fun, but quickly turned very bizarre, telling us that yes, there is at least one Jewish student at Hogwarts, named Anthony Goldstein, that there is literally only one major wizarding school for the entire continent of Africa, that indigenous wizards in the United States never had any conflict whatsoever with the colonizing wizards, and finally, the one that you might know, that summarily brought an end to these extra-canonical flights of fancy. Prior to indoor plumbing, wizards pooped where they stood and vanished the evidence. Something she originally wrote in 2015, but which resurfaced in this misguided tweet from the Wizarding World account in 2019 and gained a comical amount of attention. Fans were out here asking, the real questions, did Lavender Brown survive her werewolf bite? Or did Seamus Finnegan and Dean Thomas finally have the homosexual relationship of our dreams? And J.K. Rowling was like, I don't know. But what I do know is that their ancestors shat the bed. Now, with Rowling metaphorically pooping all over her franchise, Warner Brothers has been stuck on cleanup duty. Only after 1 year of Rowling's Fantastic Beasts film series abruptly collapsing after 3 out of proposed 5 films, and following the financially successful but frosty reception to the Cursed Child stage play, Warner Brothers studio head David Zaslav bemoaned, "We haven't done anything with Harry Potter in more than a decade, so I don't know what the fuck this was." Because Rowling solely holds the rights to and has first word on nearly all Potter stories outside of the original 7 novels, a TV show adaptation was announced in a last-ditch effort to boost the IP, and now we have these photos, which look oddly familiar in an AI sort of way. But don't worry, the franchise's fans are skeptical of the TV show, not because of anything surrounding Rowling, but rather because actor Papa Essiadu got cast as Snape, and as you can imagine, the internet is being very normal and not at all racist about it. HBO CEO Cassie Bloys attempted to quell any concerns that Rowling's views would bleed into the script, despite also mentioning that Rowling was, quote, very, very involved in selecting the screenwriter. Meanwhile, Rowling, who is executive producer for the show, has publicly insisted that Voldemort's acolytes, the Death Eaters, are meant to be read as pro-trans activists, and has also made petty tweets towards the original film's core cast, Daniel Radcliffe, Rupert Grint, and Emma Watson, who all made statements in support of the transgender community, implying that she is happy to leave their contribution to her franchise behind. Actually, pause for a minute. Oh, yes, absolutely boo. I love these boos. Only semi-related, and I'm going to go over here for this to look at it properly. That jawline, still there. And it has a Tony Award. Aged like fine wine. I figured it out. This is my mother. May she rest in peace. Lovingly piecing together one of over 100 wizard cards with some of that juicy extra-canonical material. She can hear you, thank you. After Deathly Hallows was released, I asked her if she thought Rowling would ever write any more entries to the series. My mom could have placated me with a "sure, sweetie," or an "I don't see why not." But she gave me an answer not unlike Dumbledore's words to Harry, and I'd say it perfectly fits lesson number 2 for breaking up with Harry Potter. You know, some good people only have one story to tell. Another quote. One of my favorites from the series, from Deathly Hallows. This one also comes from Dumbledore. Having reunited in a state of limbo, Harry is debating whether to die or pull a Jesus, or an Aslan if you prefer. Dumbledore's advice to aid Harry's decision is, do not pity the dead, Harry. Pity the living. And above all, those who live without love. Separate the art from the artist. It's a phrase that's been applied to Harry Potter a lot. Here's one of many tweets I came across that tries to do just that. It's a beautiful day on the Hogwarts grounds. I'm by the lake with a butterbeer and chocolate frogs, musing about what truly makes me love this place. And then I get to share it with all of you. So come sit with me. You don't need her permission. Heart emoji. That's some corny-ass bullshit. Who wrote this? Oh, fuck, it's me. Yeah, so for some reason, I felt immediately after Rowling's essay was published that I needed to tweet this. I've separated the art from the artist, guides. I figured out how to have my cake and eat it, too. This tweet did get a few likes and some positive reception from my podcast listeners, but a few responses looked like this one. I'm trans, and there must be a Dementor nearby, because I can only hear her voice hurting my existence and hurting others like me. I have been a Slytherin for the last 20 years, but I don't think I can go back to Hogwarts anymore. My heart is broken. Looking back on it, I can tell you that the hardest part of breaking up with Harry Potter wasn't that I deconstructed my Potter dream room and KonMari'd all of my merch. That part was surprisingly easy. I have a very tuned idea of what brings me joy. It wasn't the continuous one on top of the other realizations that for months afterward that I wasn't going to be doing things like throwing Harry Potter parties, or giving wizard cards to the Universal staff, or playing the Hogwarts Legacy game that everyone pretended was good because Potter fans don't have a barometer for what makes a good video game. And I can say that because I played these monstrosities, except the one where you have to make Hermione dance. That does exist for the Game Boy. It wasn't even realizing that I had failed to spend my LEGO VIP points on this set, or this set, or this set. God damn, they cooked at LEGO. I don't know what the fuck they were doing. Now, okay, I'm literally going to pause my script for a minute because you don't understand. Let me show you. So just for clarity, this is Diagon Alley, Hogwarts Express, Gringotts. That's the moments they're supposed to be depicting if you didn't know. I'm going to show you the sets that they made in 2001 that I have, and they are overlaid over the same sets. Same set. Jesus is right. We couldn't build a background, so we gave you a cardboard cutout. There's no rails for the Hogwarts Express, and I don't know what the fuck this is. So somebody said, it's a tower. Thank you. What was I talking about? Okay, back to it. Things that were hard about breaking up with Harry Potter. You know, it actually wasn't even realizing that my first solo podcast concept that I had been brainstorming for years, centered around guests sharing how Potter changed their lives, was now permanently shelved. It was all very painful, absolutely. You know, especially the Lego sets. We're just gonna go back, like one more. Just what the fuck? These I could buy these now, but I will not buy these. I'm gonna spend my points on something. Okay, this is not what I'm here for. Okay. Moving on. All right. So, the real thing was realizing the real difficult thing was realizing the mistakes that I made, looking inward, and realizing the mistakes I made in my love for this series. As a queer person myself, I had sympathy for the transgender community's disappointment when the essay was published, but I realized I was not well educated on their history and their struggles. I also realized that rather than framing it as some kind of social activism, as I believe many folks mistakenly do, separating the art from the artist was a personal coping mechanism that I, as a cisgender person, had the privilege of doing, while transgender folks were forced to grapple with the more dire implications of continuing to engage with the franchise. Rowling has been abundantly clear where her funds go. Last year, she donated £70,000, or over $88,000, to a case at the UK Supreme Court, which successfully removed transgender women from the definition of woman, a case that initially lost in the Scottish courts. This year, Rowling set up the J.K. Rowling Women's Fund. Scroll down the scant website, and it details that the group seeks to fund women and organizations who are, quote, being forced to comply with unreasonable inclusion policies regarding single-sex spaces and services. What exactly constitutes unreasonable inclusion policies? The website does not define that, instead leaving it up to the discretion of the fund's board. Rowling's wealth, of which Potter is the largest contributor, directly funds legislation to exclude transgender people. Forbes estimates that the TV remake alone will add around $20 million a year to her $1.2 billion net worth, with the show planned for a 10-year run. So you can do the math on that. Because I'm a librarian, that's not what I got into libraries for. It's disquieting for me to know that some of my dollars, however unwittingly, may very well have contributed to her efforts. So lesson 3, in breaking up with Harry Potter, this fading franchise and its billionaire author do not need our love or defense, but there are real marginalized people out there who do. For this last section, thank you. For this last section, I don't have a quote from Harry Potter, but rather one from New Mexico's own representative, Deb Haaland. This comes from her profile in The New Yorker, where she reflected on the public's awareness of social and political issues. I sometimes think about the state of our country. And I know there's a lot of people who, when I think about how things were for me, how difficult certain times in my life were, it's not like you have a lot of leisure time to think about the problems in the world. I sometimes wonder, what do you choose to read? What do you choose to think about? And what do you choose to know? As a librarian, it's not my job to tell you that you can or cannot enjoy certain media. That's against the American Library Association's Code of Ethics and Freedom to Read statement. But what I can do is provide you with information, and you can choose to do with it what you will. In my research of the transgender community and their feelings on Rowling, the overwhelming sentiment I saw was, we are tired of talking about this. The community is eager to advocate for themselves and one another, but as someone with intersectional, marginalized identities, I can tell you that this is absolutely exhausting, especially when your time would be better spent connecting with people over things you love instead of things that actively cause you harm or remind you that you have been excluded or ostracized, especially when said thing is a universally beloved multi-million-dollar global franchise that everybody wants to talk about. So, knowing this, and acknowledging that I still have a very small platform, I started my own podcast. Yes, I'm a man who started his own fucking podcast. Give me a medal, thank you. I know, but hear me out. Every episode, I invite a guest to share their favorite piece of media, book, movie, video game, as long as it tells a story, with the caveat that the media is backed by diverse creators and or features diverse characters. Long before Rowling's essay, it made very little sense to me why the fandom had decided that a white, straight, cisgender British woman was going to give us thoughtful DEI when she made faux pas like naming one of her only Asian characters Cho Chang. And because I'm giving myself the space and time to explore and recover the joy of reading and media for pleasure, I have discovered an incredible wealth of creators, many of whom have outdone Rowling on inclusive narratives, but are lacking the powerhouse marketing of the Potter brand. Instead of indigenous wizards being relegated to the sidelines, I read The Absolutely Wild Son of a Trickster by indigenous Canadian author Eden Robinson, featuring folkloric magic based in the Heisla and Heiltsuk traditions. Instead of waiting for the official queering of Dumbledore and Grindelwald, I read T.J. Klune's The House in the Cerulean Sea and Eric J. Brown's All That's Left in the World, where the leads are unambiguously gay in worlds of sci-fi and fantasy. Instead of waiting for marginalized lead characters, I watched Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, scripted and directed by a team of exclusively women of color, and played games like Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, following a queer female warrior through narrative twists only Rowling could only dream of. And instead of listening to Rowling drown out the voices of transgender and now weirdly asexual people, which she's gone after as well, I read Lewis Hancock's Welcome to St. Hell and Alice Oseman's Loveless, two queer authors sharing queer experiences. Lesson 4 in breaking up with Harry Potter: there are so many more stories out there being told by, frankly, much more interesting people. Speaking of interesting people, I just referenced Alice Oseman, who you might be familiar with as the asexual author and illustrator of the popular Heartstopper graphic novels, as well as the writer and executive producer of the Netflix version. Her first novel, Solitaire, I think has the perfect moment to bring this presentation to a close. And for those of you not in the know, Oseman is British, so the accent gets to ride one last time. For context, the main character, a high schooler named Tori, is reluctantly in the company of her classmates, Becky and Evelyn. Tori narrates as Evelyn brings up Harry Potter. This is from the first pages of this book. This book was published over 10 years ago, by the way, so this passage is surprisingly ahead of the curve.
The real question, though, says Evelyn, is whether there's any sexual tension between Harry and Malfoy. I'm not sure whether Becky genuinely likes Evelyn. Sometimes I think people only pretend to like each other. Only in fan fiction, Evelyn, says Becky. Please keep your fantasies between yourself and your search history. Evelyn laughs. Well, I'm just saying, Malfoy helps Harry in the end, right? So why does he bully Harry for 7 years? He secretly likes him. With each word, she claps her hands together. It really doesn't emphasize her point. It's a well-established fact that people tease people they fancy. The psychology here is unarguable. Evelyn, says Becky. Firstly, I resent the fangirl idea that Draco Malfoy is some kind of beautifully tortured soul who is searching for redemption and understanding. He's essentially a massive racist. Secondly, the idea that bullying means that you fancy someone is basically the foundation of domestic abuse. Evelyn appears to be deeply offended. It's just a book, it's not real life. Becky sighs and turns to me, and so does Evelyn. I deduce that I am under pressure to contribute something. I think Harry Potter's a bit shit, to be honest, I say. Sort of wish we could all move on from it.
That's it. Thank you all so much for coming to my presentation. Again, shout out to my friends and coworkers who showed up tonight. But thank you all for coming and listening to this, just to be to make sure and cover all my bases. Unlike Rowling, this is my works cited page. And in addition to a works cited, if you are interested in learning more, because I know this is a big topic and I only had a few minutes to cover it, there is a QR code here that will take you to a link tree full of videos and articles that talk more about this issue from the perspective of trans people, queer allies, creators who I respect and think are doing a great job. My podcast is also linked here, as well as other podcasts that I have appeared on. So please feel free to scan it. If this goes down later and you still want it, come up to me later and I will have it on my phone for you. And now, I guess, time for questions, correct? So I'm happy to take questions from you all. And just to incentivize you all, because I know this is a difficult and slightly scary topic, and it may be that you're admitting that you might not know something. That's okay. I'm a librarian. I'm here to help you. But in addition to that, I do have a little something for the question that I subjectively decide is my favorite one. So, ask your questions, because I'm going to be keeping an eye on that. So, anybody have any questions? Yes? Thoughts on My Immortal? I never read it. I know that's a very famous, smutty Harry Potter fan fiction that's absolutely off the wall and got very popular. My friend Mike Schubert, who does the Potterless podcast, the whole shtick was that he was in his mid-20s and started reading Harry Potter for the first time. He read it on his podcast and they talked about it. And he does Percy Jackson now. He moved on from Harry Potter. But actually, to speak to that with fan fiction, I think fan fiction is a beautiful thing. I know that the fandom, and I mentioned this in the presentation, is saying that fan fiction is a way to reclaim Harry Potter. I think fan fiction is an awesome thing for you to do in your time. I do think it still falls under the, I've separated the art from the artist issue. Because if you're promoting Harry Potter really in any way, in that way, you're still giving it a platform. So even if it's through your personal stuff, but I think on your personal time, I've still got the books. I didn't throw any of my stuff away that I didn't want to. So just to be clear about that. Any other questions? Yes. Thank you. What is my home decor like now? Oh my God. That is so sweet. I had a real war with myself afterwards, maybe some of you who were in the same boat I was might have experienced something like this, but it really was a kind of a who am I without Harry Potter, because I thought it was a good investment. Thank God I didn't get a tattoo, right? But I actually asked my roommate at the time, Leandra Flores, shout out to her, how to help me with this, and she was like, well, what do you like? And I was like, I like sci-fi. I like galaxy colors. And she's like, what's your favorite movie? And I was like, Contact. She was like, let's use that as a leaping point. So my decor is kind of like sci-fi, future forward, but also like optimistic future kind of a thing. So yeah, that's kind of where I've leaned towards. I just moved back home. My dad keeps asking me, when are you going to paint the walls? So we got some things to think about still. But thank you. Great question. Yes. Umbridge. I just wanted to make sure. I was like, I think I can answer this before you even finish. She has publicly said in interviews that she sees herself as Hermione and Dumbledore. No. I understand that at maybe one point, I understand why she thought that. She doesn't really talk about Harry Potter anymore, so who knows at this point what she thinks. But I think that was actually kind of the purpose of bringing Umbridge up in this discussion I don't necessarily recommend you engage further, but as far as your research, if you're curious, she wrote a piece on Umbridge for Pottermore, formerly, now the Wizarding World. It's still posted there, I think. And it does very weirdly, it talks about Umbridge's whole history that she made up, and it is weirdly, prevalent for now, if you look at it through the eyes of maybe this is her, too. So, no shade to Imelda Stanton, who played Umbridge. She's great. We love her. Any other questions? Yes. What book series can you get your 5-year-old nephew of your Potter-loving sister? Okay, so that's the thing to think about with that is that not everything about Harry Potter is going to appeal to your Harry Potter reader. There are many Potter read-alikes out there that I don't like because they didn't hit what I was looking for. When I used to, because I was going to say when I have kids come up to the desk, but I work at a university now. When I had kids come up to the desk when I was a youth librarian and they would ask for something else, like for Harry Potter, I would ask them, what are some of the things you liked about Harry Potter? Who was your favorite character? Did you like the mystery part of it? Did you like the magical school? Did you like the world building? Because there's different answers for that question depending on what that person likes. I know people love, especially because we have things like book talk and stuff now where people are, give me a suggestion now. But I really do like to take into account what that person like personally wanted to, what resonated with them about Harry Potter. But a great question. I do, Adam's a friend, we'll talk. I'll give you some recommendations. Yes? Who would win in a fight to the death? Harry Potter or Gandalf? I mean, part of that is, well, no, it's not really dependent on what year Harry is. It's Gandalf. Because Harry just, and I mean, you know, if we're talking about deep in the story, to his credit, Harry is like kind of trying to be a pacifist and he only uses defensive spells, except when he feels the need to use unforgivables and enchant people to, you know, take over their mind. But it's Gandalf. It's not really I know people love to do that too, the verses. I think a more interesting matchup is obviously Gandalf versus Dumbledore, because Dumbledore is a fully competent wizard in his realm. I think that would be more interesting to watch. Who, between them? So, not entirely sure because I haven't read The Lord of the Rings. I read The Hobbit and I saw the movies, but I haven't read it, so I will get to it. It's on my list. And then I will have an answer for you. Yes?
Talk to us about your thoughts on Fantastic Beasts and the Crimes of Grindelwald, which are Harry Potter adjacent.
I would have to do a whole other presentation for you about that. But the quick thoughts are those movies are pieces of shit. The first movie is also not good. You just thought it was because you were excited. And I promise you that because I was that way too. I have done a podcast with Mike on Potterless where I go into depth about my thoughts on the first Fantastic Beast with him. We go moment by moment. I think my favorite thing, though, to reference, if you guys don't know the creator, Jenny Nicholson, she is a YouTuber who loves theme parks and movies, and she used to do, like, script doctors. And she did one for Crimes of Grindelwald, is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And midway through, if you don't know, Rowling, and here's another fun tidbit, Rowling revealed that Nagini, Voldemort's snake, is a woman. And she is a character, a human woman who turns into a snake in the Fantastic Beasts films. We never will find out what that's about because there's no more movies. But also, I don't think she knew what she was doing anyway. But Jenny Nicholson in the video said, you know how people love to say that when Rowling was like inspired, she had to write it down really quickly, what the Harry Potter ideas, and that she has it on a napkin somewhere? Well, she's out here claiming that, you know, she knew Nagini was a snake 20 years ago. So I like to imagine that on that napkin, the only things that are written on it are little boy wizard who lives in a cupboard and the snake is a Korean lady. There is no substance to those movies. They don't even know what they're trying to say. They're very confused films. Yes? Wonderful question. Thank you. Beautiful question. So the question was, in a world of censorship, how do you, the public, the patrons who come to the library, how do you take advantage of the knowledge of this, and how do you help, you know, with this censorship issue? How do you combat this? How do you, you know, push through that? I mean, the big thing is to read, is to engage with your library, the most important thing you can do. Whatever library. By the way, if you don't know, you can come to UNM even if you're not a student, to the Zimmerman Library, any of our libraries. You don't have to have a card, just a photo ID. But public libraries as well. We shout out to our public and small libraries. But just engaging with your library is the first thing. Please, because this is something that I don't think a lot of people remember to do, go up to the desk and talk to the librarian, please. We are so bored waiting for you. And people always come to me, and you're all so sweet. You come up and you go, I'm so sorry to bother you. And I'm like, I get paid to do this, please. Like, please bother us. It's not a bother. We're waiting for questions, and we want to help you find those things. I think in this case, the other thing, too, to keep in mind, which is really important to me, I loved when adults came to me, even if they didn't know about the Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling issue, if they came to me looking for something else to read because their kid, they wanted to broaden their child's reading. And I think you all should broaden your reading, too. Just like I try to do it through this podcast, there are ways to broaden what you read and give attention to authors and creators, not just books, but video games, TV shows, movies that are being created by diverse people out there. Are we kind of round time, I think? Yeah. Thank you all so much. Thank you. And before I go, come up here. That was the I have a little something for you. In the tradition of my father, I went out and got an owl, and it's yours to keep. Thank you so much for your question.
Keep it on.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Thank you again so much, Michael. By the way, I do take a little offense to the Ericid comment. I was legitimately surprised that Alucard was backwards for Dracula, and that was after I got my PhD. So, anyways, Alucard, Alucard, Dracula. Did I get that right? My doctor's not in English, so. You never knew that? Okay, 2 doctors just found out tonight. Anyways.